My name is Daniel Dorall, and I'm an architect, artist, and collector, and this is my home. I am not a maximalist.
You're actually quite maximalist, right?
You think so? I feel that some people are interested in experiences, but for me, I'm a collector. I'm interested in objects. I have this idea of a place for everything and everything in its place. If everything is in its space and in harmony and in composition, that's when it really becomes a home for me.
We've been cooking up something tasty. Meet our new magazine. Jam-packed with people living small, designing small, sustainable and experimental design, urban life and culture. It's designed for design lovers who like their design without the swank and the wank. More than a mag, this is a collectible keepsake, born to live on your coffee table or best bookshelf. So hot.
Subscribe now before August 23 for the chance to win one of 3 July carry-on luggage pieces.
It's just me and my collection living here right now. A single person living in a space, you really don't need more than 40 square meters. 50 square meters is great. Anything more than that is, very, very great. One of the great things about this apartment as well is even though it's not huge, it really has the volume, and volume just gives things a different dimension. It just sort of feels that you're walking into something which is not claustrophobic. I'm very much a city person. I don't have a car. It's about convenience for me, and it's about location. And it's also about, outlooks and views and what I can have in my space to make me feel comfortable in the space. I'm really interested in spaces which has a bit of a grand reveal, which is why I really like this entrance corridor. It's a bit of a salon hang of various different paintings, drawings, and prints. I really wanted a door stopper, I guess, and I really didn't like door stoppers which came from the ground. So what I have here is one of these hooks from IKEA, which I've sort of inverted in another way. And it works really well to just sort of hold the door like that. Because it has a door closer, I actually use the same hook that I've got up here as well. It swings this way, down. You can have that amount of gap, or you can have it up like that, so you can have a little bit more ventilation and have the door slightly ajar. A very large picture here, which is hiding a few different electrical things. I've got another sort of hidden spot here, which I have more switches. The trick is that you need to find a frame which has a cavity towards the behind. Sometimes I like to expose the hinges. So in this case, I got gold hinges, so I wanted to expose them. I collect 3 different things. I collect art, modern contemporary Australian art mostly. I collect objects, and I collect books. I think the idea is to actually have like a bit of a blank canvas. So, white walls, very clean surfaces to display my collection. The kitchen is a bit of an open plan kitchen. So we've got a pantry here, which has quite a bit of space, but I've really utilized it by having more sort of narrow, low shelves where you can stack more plates, etc. Sometimes, you might have jars, but you don't actually necessarily need to stand them up all the time. I did buy this metal plate. I think I got it custom cut for me in this size, and I've just sort of screwed it in, and it's all magnetic. You can see there's a bit of a gap here. Otherwise, your herbs are going to hit right into the cabinetry. All the cabinetry up here, everything's sort of hanging. I try to hang things as much as possible. My mom said, if you have lots of Tupperware or storage food, you really need to arrange it, because otherwise it'll be a messy cupboard, which I think a lot of houses have, but I try to keep it as neat as possible. Storage tips in my kitchen, try to keep things off the bench top. So I have a dishwasher and not everything goes in a dishwasher. Sometimes you need to hand wash. I actually have Mark Newson drying rack in here, and that just sort of like nicely closes like that. So this used to be just a bit of a mess, but I very recently got all this IKEA white plastic to store all the various different bits and bobs and cleaning supplies. I live here by myself. I don't really feel the need to label anything, but yeah, sometimes I do forget, and so I'm looking around to see what's in there. So I used to have a lot more display objects on this counter, but I minimalized it into things which I do use on a daily basis. So I use this trivet from Norman Copenhagen. This is my squeezer. I've got MSG in there. That's my Alessi orange peeler. This is called an oil pipe by Aldo Baker. Some people have like a whole knife block. I sort of thought, all right, I'm going to give all of that away. I'm just going to have 3 knives. So that's a bread knife, chef's knife, and just a little paring knife. And I think that's all we need, really. Going back to that hook that I really love, what I've done here is create a bit of a wine rack. In here is my sort of utilities area. So, a couple of IKEA hacks as well. That's actually for picture frames, just to put it in there because I need to put my Dyson. My Bissell vacuum cleaner, it actually goes behind the microwave. There's a hole cut out at the back. This is my Brutalis poured concrete bench. This is the area which I use the most. So it's actually a lot darker from all the oils. And you see, I didn't actually get a designer to do it for me, and I didn't get like specialist people to make it for me. I got a concreter. Besides it being people tend to think, when they think about the fact that I've got concrete floors and lots of concrete, they think that the space is cold. But when they will come and visit it, because of how it's laid out and the various different interesting things in the space, their perception actually changes, that it's a lot warmer. One of the things that makes this space a bit of a home is that I try to collect plants that my mum used to have. And I remember her having this asparagus fern. And I've hacked quite a few of the Lack series IKEA tables. So those are the table legs. So I just sort of cut down, assembled them as plinths. One of the things I really love about this apartment is this great big window. So it's roughly about 5 meters wide across 5 panels, and it goes up by about 2.5 meters. You have an exclusive view to 2 of the Corinthian columns, which you can't actually see from the bottom of the apartment. So they open just sort of halfway like that. If they open all the way, then a small child might fall out, or an animal, or a human. These were the original door handles from my kitchen. I basically just use them for when I need to open the window and I just need to wedge it. So I don't have curtains, but I do have blinds. The controller is here behind this box. And they used to be manual blinds, and they were pretty old. One year they sort of broke, and I remember climbing up to the top 3.5 meters thinking, if I fall, that'll be the end of me. So I got some electric blinds put in, and they were the best investment ever. Not all the pots need to be on the base level. Sometimes they can be a little bit higher. So that's a small pot stacked on a big pot. So they sort of blue tack together. Everything needs to go with the thing which is next to it in composition. It just sort of covers the... But I think that comes from my architectural training. All the sort of classical notions of like hierarchy and symmetry and perspective is quite important when you have lots of things, but you don't want to make it look cluttered. I still love art and I still collect a lot of art, even though I don't work in the art world anymore. So that sort of influences how I think. This coffee table, I searched for a very long time. So for 3 or 4 years, I didn't actually have a coffee table. I didn't want to buy something which I just spend, a few $100s on just to have something there. It's more of a platform really for displaying stuff. It's by Affleck. I think it's Italian as well, and it's called a nap coffee table. And I try to have at least half of it free space for if I need to, put a glass on or something like that. I'm not completely convinced of how this is set up currently. I used to have it just perfect, but then I sort of bought and sold different things, so it might change over the next few years, or the next day, yeah. This is my main picture wall, I guess. On the left-hand side here, I've got my self-made bookshelf, which I've had for the last 10 years. This is my new sort of hang. It's probably coming to about 18 months now I've had this hang. This sort of diptych is by Janine Eaton, who is a Melbourne artist. I do get some morning sun, but I don't really get that much sun otherwise. So it's always a few degrees colder in here, which is good for the artworks and the objects. Not so great for plants, but I do have a balcony garden, which is looking very lush today. I have been working on this space for the last 8 years as well, and I think I got it sort of down pat. I always wanted a bit of a garden wall over here. So I've used those planter boxes, which are actually IKEA bathroom shelving, and they're steel and sort of white, so I thought it would go really well. So that is actually 2 IKEA tables, which I put on. And these grates here, there's a steel maker based in North Melbourne. I got them to make that, and I've just got screws here and screws there. So this actually just comes off when I need to access it for anything. The bedroom itself is not massive. It's roughly about 3.9 meters by about 3.5 meters. The unit originally came with a much smaller wardrobe, so it actually ended here. I got that removed and I actually installed the pack system from IKEA by myself. I'll just give you a quick look inside, but not that long. Anyway, lots of drawers for, t-shirts and stuff, and scarves, etc. So this is where I put my shoes, so I just sort of carry it in after I've taken it off at the doorway. And on the other side here, just sort of shirts and jackets. I've got a huge jacket collection. Took me a while to figure out what I was going to do up there, but I just really wanted it to be more storage. So that's just sort of large storage. I've got lots of boxes in there, luggage, for example, Christmas decorations, etc. This is where I store one of my ladders. So this is a 4-step ladder by Luckman. It's probably one of the highest step ladders you can get. It's very, very useful. I probably use it like every other day. I've got more seating for the balcony or whenever I have visitors. And that's just a chair from Alessi. This little platform here used to be just plaster on the top, and I got another furniture maker to cut this piece of plywood just to bring it all together. And it also goes in line with this other piece of plywood, which is on this windowsill here. This study was designed by myself and built by a Melbourne company like Butter. I do have stuff up there, but it's for very, very long-term storage because it's very difficult to get all the way up there, especially putting a ladder in this small gap over here. That's another IKEA hack. I was looking for a rail which I could use the maximum amount of depth, but it does work very well as occasional hanging for laundry or if I need to dry anything. I've got another piece of artwork here, hand-drawn on the wall by Steve Cox, who's a Melbourne artist. The bathroom I renovated probably about 18 months ago, maybe about 2 years ago. This is the original concrete that was found in the building. This is a 100-year-old concrete. This is a design of mine as well. It's all made in Korean. I added that sort of ledge there, not too many bottles everywhere. This is really literally all I have. This here, I designed as well as a laundry bin. I thought, oh, I'm going to get the cabinet maker to do cabinetry in the space, and I need a piano hinge all the way here. And I sort of said, I'll get it in like this sort of chrome finish. So yeah, I think it works really well. I've put the washing machine, which is a washer dryer, in this space underneath the vanity. I've got additional shelving in there just for all my toiletries and my perfume collection. To actually keep them in place, I've added like little nails which I've sort of painted white so they don't fall over. This originally was a normal door, but when I renovated this bathroom, I wanted it to have two entrances. So an entrance from the bedroom and an entrance from the living area as well for guests. If it wasn't bifold, it would cross with the other opening over here. But since it is bifold, it sort of just tucks nicely, and this is not obstructed. This is another sort of gallery corridor that was created when I created this separate entrance into the bathroom. But in here is more storage. It also allowed me to create a new entrance into the new studio space, which I excavated above the bathroom. I call it an excavation because when there was a leak from a neighbor's pipe upstairs, a plumber had to come in to cut a manhole above the bathroom. And when he looked up inside, there was another 2.5 meters up there. So there was a total of 5 meters ceiling height for this whole apartment. When I first opened up the space, it really didn't look like this at all. It had no floor. It had pipes running all over the place. So all of that had to be moved aside. In this cupboard here, we've got my broom. That's where the exhaust fan for the bathroom actually goes. And in here is the water heater unit, which was moved from downstairs. As you can see, it's quite a tight fit. On the back there, it's actually a polished piece of stainless steel. At the top here, it's LED panels, which gives the illusion of being a skylight. There's a cutout here. It serves as to bring in light from the bedroom, and it also allows ventilation to the space. Plus the other thing was that it allows me, if I need to sit down, to put my legs in here, so you're nice and comfortable. I've been using this space to continuously make my work, do a bit of reading. One of the things in the space is this trapdoor, which I designed and got the builder to build, and I sort of painted it myself. But it does allow me to stand in this space and fully utilize the cabinetry that I have here. I've got this long cabinet here for boxes, any framed works that I might want to have. Cupboards here. There's a corner cupboard which is quite big and deep, and additional drawers with some more of my work. I think you can continuously improve in how you can live in a home. There's probably still a lot of holes because people change, people grow, and you might want different things. But it's all about tweaking and tinkering around the edges and just sort of polishing things up and evolving the home as you sort of grow. What makes it a home for me is that I'm surrounded by my collection of beautiful things. And that just makes me happy to be in a space.
Thanks for watching. If you have a home we can feature, please share it with us at nevertoosmall.com/submissions.